Good afternoon, folks. We'll have a brief look at the Gospel reading for Sunday, which is the fifth Sunday of Lent, so we're coming close to Easter. And Sunday's Gospel as such is not, I wouldn't consider it very helpful in terms of your spiritual life, helping you to grow in your spiritual life, because it's more a question of Jesus being on trial than in terms of anything, and also his ability to get out of a difficult situation. But other than that, it's not very beneficial for spirituality. That's why I just suggest that you might want to, if you're reflecting on the readings, you might want to take a look at the St. Paul's letter to the Philippians. I just want to read a couple of lines of it. It says, "Brothers and sisters, I consider everything as a loss because of the supreme good of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord. For his sake I have accepted the loss of all things, and I consider them so much rubbish that I may gain Christ and be found in him." That's a powerful statement from Paul. Paul, as you know, whose original name was Saul, he hated Christianity and he hated Christ, and obviously wanted absolutely nothing to do with them until he had that conversion experience. And after the conversion experience, obviously he spent a lot of time reflecting upon who Christ was and what Christ meant in his life. And what you have here in Philippians, it's really a statement of the fact that he's still, even though he's moving on in his life, he's still growing in his relationship to Christ, and he considers everything else as sort of everything else that he's had or has, he considers, as he says himself, much rubbish compared to possession, knowing that Jesus Christ is your personal Lord. So you might want to ponder that over the next couple of days, and also especially the second half of that Philippians reading is also very powerful. So let's go back to the Gospel reading for Sunday, which is a story from chapter 8 of St. John's Gospel, and it's some poor lady caught in the act of adultery, and she is brought to Jesus. Jesus at this point in time is in the temple. He's teaching, and obviously quite successful in doing so. But some of the Pharisees found this lady involved in an adulterous situation, and they bring her to Jesus, and they said to him, this lady has been caught in the act of adultery. And in the law of Moses, it's actually, you find it, the actual reference in Leviticus chapter 20 verse 10, what happens to a lady who is involved in adultery. The punishment is to be stoned to death. So basically, they're bringing this. They're asking Jesus to make a decision in terms of this lady, whether she should be stoned to death. And of course, basically, it wasn't so much that the lady was on trial. It's Jesus himself who was on trial, because really they're trying to find something to accuse him of. So the lady is just, in many ways, she's just a pawn in this situation. So when they asked what is his, obviously what they're saying to him, well, if he says that she's guilty, then obviously she should be stoned to death. So on the other hand, so Jesus is he's not very compassionate in that situation in his dealings with this poor woman. On the other hand, if he says leave her alone, she's not guilty or whatever, then he's violating the law of Moses. So basically, they feel that they've caught Jesus in a trap, and Jesus, on the other hand, being a smart man, rather than trying to make a response, we're told that he kneels down and he starts to doodle in the dirt on the sand on the ground. He looks as if he's writing something, and he does that for a couple of moments. And basically, I think what he's doing in doing that, what he's not doing is he's changing. Actually saying the question you're asking is the wrong question. So after a couple of moments, he raises his head and he says, "Let the person among you who is without sin be the first one to cast a stone." And we're told that, and then he starts to write in the ground again for a couple of minutes. And basically, what happens is that the Pharisees start to walk away one after another, and for obvious reasons. And at the very end, of course, all that's left is the woman and the poor lady herself. And so Jesus says to her, "Has anybody condemned you?" And she says, "No one, sir." And he says, "Neither do I." He says, "From now on," he says, "go in peace." He says, "and from now on, sin no more." He didn't say what you did is right or wrong. Basically, what he said, you need to change your way of life. So it's a good story, but as I say, in order to get some more spiritual nourishment, you need, I think, to look at the Philippians reading for the weekend. Thank you.